Hello, world. Welcome to episode 128 of the Jimmy Canz Show. It is a classic supercard retrospective. We are going to discuss WCW's Japan Supershow. This was a really good card and a really good show overall. So let's talk about this one. All right. It was held. Well, hold on here. Now, let me digress here. Okay, so co-promoted WCW New Japan event took place actually March 21st of 91 at the Tokyo Dome in Tokyo, Japan, but didn't air on pay-per-view in the States until April of 91. So it was a tape delayed pay-per-view broadcast that they made available in April. It wasn't a one night live pay-per-view type thing. I don't know if they were experimenting with pay-per-view format and basically, the way pay-per-view movies used to be available for, a few months. This was along those same lines. So a little different here. For the live event in Japan, there were 11 matches. For the US pay-per-view broadcast, only 7 of those matches were shown. The action was called by Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone for the pay-per-view. It was released on VHS in the US by Turner Home Entertainment. It's not available currently on the WWE network. My guess is this is likely due to right issues since it was co-promoted between WCW and New Japan. They have rights to WCW stuff. They don't have rights to New Japan, as New Japan has their own streaming service. So that's probably why. So for the purpose of this, we're only going to discuss those 7 matches that were broadcast. So let's talk a little bit here. Opening contest was a 6-man. Representing New Japan was Kuniaki Kobayashi, Shiro Koshinaka, and Takayuki Iizuka. Representing WCW was the trio of the Z-Man, Flying Brian Pillman, and White Lightning Tim Horner. This was a really good opener for the broadcast. Real quick, I hunted online, couldn't find any real good quality images to kind of make the match graphic. So I would apologize for the quality and graininess of some of these images, but it was best I could kind of get together. Was a really good contest. The New Japan trio prevailed a little over 12 minutes, courtesy of a dragon suplex by Iizuka on Horner. It was a match that showed a little of everything. There was ground combat, there was some high flying, there were submissions, there were counters. It was a fantastic opener for the broadcast, and it was a match, to be quite honest, that wouldn't be out of place on a modern wrestling card. It was ahead of its time. This was not a typical type of match that fans were used to seeing. US, or I guess all North American fans probably weren't really used to seeing these types of matches in 1991. It's going to be a common theme throughout this show. So next up was the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship match up. It was Jushin Thunder Liger defending against Akira Nogami. To put on a clinic, just like the opener. This wasn't common to see by North American audiences in 91. Liger does retain his title after a top rope DDT and a 16-minute burner of a match. I mean, like I said, these were high-paced, high work rate matches that you just didn't typically see in 1990. Next, another interpromotional showcase. You had the 4 Horsemen being represented by Barry Windham and the WCW TV champion, the Enforcer, Double A Arn Anderson. New Japan was represented by Masa Saito and Masahiro Chono. 50-50 booking time here and a co-promoted event. So, New Japan took that 6-man opener, and, the Horsemen go over here in a very solid tag match. Not as good as the 6-man opener. This one went about 9 minutes with the Horsemen getting the win for WCW. Next up on the broadcast was the another tag team contest. It put champion versus champion, title for title, as the WCW World Tag Team Champions, the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott, taking on the IWGP Tag Team Champions, Hiroshi Hase and Kensuke Sasaki. At the point in time of this, the Steiners were also the WCW US Tag Team Champions. So they're already double champs, and they're trying to become triple champs here. And these four tore it down. Again, like I said, this was just a very high work rate show. About 9.5 minutes. The Steiners end up getting a victory via Scotty Frankensteinering them to capture the IWGP Tag Team titles. And in doing so, they have become the first Westerners to ever capture those titles. And they're, triple champions at this point in their career. So next up was the only real stinker, in my opinion, on this card, and also the sole WCW exclusive S tier of the night. Big old Elegante took on the Big Cat. And this match was pretty much just a spectacle match for the Japanese crowd, who were in awe of the 7'7" Argentinian. The Japanese audience always eats up those larger than life competitors. That's why Andre was such a big draw in Japan for so many years. That's why Giant Baba was so over. It wasn't a typical thing to see men of Elegante's size for a Japanese audience. So anytime those cropped up, the Japanese audience ate it up. It's not even a 3-minute match here. Elegante gets the win via a claw, but like I said, it was not good. Elegante, George Gonzalez, whatever you want to call him. I mean, from my understanding, guy was a great person, big heart, good guy, and everything. Just he couldn't work. Anyway, next up, a classic rivalry renewed here as the franchise of WCW. Stinger takes on the Great Muta. It was a great back and forth contest. Ended little under the 13-minute mark with Muta hitting Sting with the dreaded green mist, followed by a crossbody for the win. Sting kind of goes ballistic a little bit afterwards, demanding, because of the underhandedness, tainted victory, so to speak, of Muta. But there you have it, Muta going over. Speaking of Muta, one of the most recent inductees in the WWE Hall of Fame. So that'll be an interesting acceptance speech. Well deserved. Great career. And then last but not least on the broadcast was another title for title main event. WCW World Heavyweight Champion, the Nature Boy Ric Flair, taking on IWGP Champion Tatsumi the Dragon Fujinami. Over 20 minutes here, no big shock. This is WCW and Ric Flair, always kind of marathon matches. What was a really good, solid match had a very screwy finish, which kind of hurt the overall quality. So real quick, co-promotion compromise, for this match, the WCW over the top rope DQ rule was in effect, as was the New Japan 20 countout rule for outside the ring in effect. So that was some compromise here, each side getting something. WCW's Bill Alfonso was the official appointed to the match. He had won a coin toss with NJPW official Tiger Hattori. And shocker, Alfonso gets knocked to the floor late in the match. While on the floor, Fujinami tosses Flair over the top rope. Alfonso saw this, but he wasn't in condition to do anything at the moment. So obviously, like I said, that over the top rope DQ rules in effect. Flair goes over the top, seen, nothing can be done at the time. So the match is continuing, and Tiger Hattori, who was out there, slid into the ring to officiate and ended up counting a Fujinami pin on Flair. So Fujinami is announced as the winner to the crowd. Alfonso then, kind of comes to and states, no, that's not, I'm the official record. It's a DQ. Flair retains, and everything. So there's kind of chaos out there. Crowd's still, going crazy because they think Fujinami is now won. They have a press conference afterwards. During the press conference, Flair storms in, taking his title from Fujinami and saying if Fujinami wants it, he needs to come to America to get it. So yeah, it's everybody follow all that, so far. Well, it's going to get even more confusing now. What wasn't stated on the broadcast, but was stated to the live crowd, was that the WCW title was never on the line in this contest. It was actually just the NWA title on the line. Because Flair's technically both, because WCW is still part of the NWA at this point in time. Even though, they're pretty much a self-sustaining entity at this point. Technically, Flair is considered a dual champion. The championship is represented by just one title belt, but he is the WCW champion and the NWA champion simultaneously at this point. So, after this show, in the eyes of WCW, Flair, is still champion, as the title A either wasn't on the line, so the WCW championship was never on the line, and B, it was retained due to a DQ, but the NWA title changed hands after this show because, even though the over the top rope rules an old NWA rule, so Flair should have been retaining the NWA title regardless. But, the NWA, I guess, went with the old, adage of the official decision thing is final, even though Hattori wasn't the official of record. So, I mean, it's just so confusing, which is a shame because, like I said, it was good. And then this kind of stuff at the end just kind of makes you scratch your head. So long story short, all this convolutedness was really just done to set up a second contest between Fujinami and Flair to headline the inaugural WCW Super Bowl event, in the coming weeks. So yeah, it was weird. Weird way to finish it. It was a really good show. So there you have all of that. Like I said, it was a really good show all in all. The majority of this broadcast was just so superb. The only real stinker in the broadcast was the Elegante Big Cat match. Personally, I wish Sting and Muta would have had a clean finish. But even though, it wasn't a clean finish, it was still a good contest. The finish to that main was something I don't even think Dusty could have come up with on his own. It was so convoluted. and like I said, it hurt the end of this show. What had been such a good show at the end was just kind of like, eh. But the dings to this show are few. A more sensible finish or even a better setup or explanation to the finish at the end of the show would have helped. But overall, still really solid show. Almost every match on this show could have been put on a modern card. Quality, like I said, the work rate quality was that high. So on a 10 belt scale, like I said, this is a really, really good show. I'll have to say, oh, that's another thing that I wanted to touch on real quick. The sheer number of Hall of Famers on this show. It's a new thing I want to do in these retrospectives is kind of touch on how many Hall of Famers are on the card. So, Flair, 2008 class, as well as also being part of the 2012 class, along with Anderson and Wyndham as part of the Horsemen. Fujinami was a Hall of Famer in 2015. Sting was inducted in 2016. Liger in 2020. The Steiner brothers were inducted last year, 2022, and Muta is, going to be inducted this year. So, that is, really solid. I mean, we'll be talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Hall of Famers on the card. So, yeah, wow. And belts, I will give this. Man, this was a good show. It's not a 10, but it's still very impressive. I'll say this is a really strong 8. An 8 out of 10. So, circle back. Join us for another classic retrospective. What we will discuss next is the aforementioned inaugural WCW Super Brawl. So, wherever you are, I hope you're all doing well. Take care of one another, and I will see you when I see you.